number 2 on a Buffalo Victory Monday after the Bills' resounding 31-10 win over the Dallas Cowboys. And we know what that means. When the Bills win, we get a new edition of the Maddy Awards presented by EnergyMark, the official energy supplier to the Buffalo Bills. And here to do the honors, as always, is who else but Maddy Glab. Welcome, Maddy. Good to see you again.
Two straight weeks. Here we go. Let's get this thing going. A statement win by the Bills, but it is not over yet because they got work to do if they want to be playing in the postseason. But we'll start off with some awards because it was a great night by the offense and the defense. We'll start with the offense here. Roadrunner is my first award, and it's going to James Cook. You remember the cartoon Looney Tunes Roadrunner?
Oh, yeah.
That's
remember
right.
those days? Well, that was James Cook. He could not be stopped last night. He was blowing by guys. He had incredible vision on the field, quick feet, running with some spunk and some purpose. He got into a rhythm, and watch out when that happens, when this guy gets into a rhythm, because it meant 221 scrimmage yards, which are top 3 among any player in the NFL this season. 2 touchdowns, averaged 7.2 yards per carry. Nobody could stop him, and they just kept handing him the rock and feeding him the rock, and it was so fun to watch him get going. I mean, he had a day, and he proved that he can be a weapon and a player that defenses are going to have to respect. And that's what you want out of these guys. That's what you want out of your offensive weapons. And it's great to get that. And hopefully we continue to see more of that as the Bills close out the regular season and get ready for the playoffs. I mean, this could be a number 2 guy for Josh Allen. We've got Stefon Diggs. That number 2 guy has kind of been hanging in the air because Gabe Davis hasn't had the season that a lot of us were expecting, and Dawson Knox got hurt. Dalton Kincaid has definitely flashed. Last night, not as much, but here comes James Cook over the last 5 weeks, and he's proved to be something that's scary for opposing defenses.
Yeah, no question. And we've said over the last couple of weeks, the first half of the Chiefs game, Cook was the engine of the offense, and certainly all last night, yesterday afternoon, James Cook was the engine. And for the first time, now the Bills have a second engine rather than Josh Allen. He didn't have to put the cape on and be Superman. So you also have, and we saw it, and we've been talking about it in the first part of the show, Maddy, the game plan.
Yep, master planner. That is Joe Brady himself. I'm sure he goes into the game, yes, with a plan to run the ball. I'm not sure how much, but I would not guess it would have been as much as the Bills did last night. But kudos to Joe Brady for sticking to it and not abandoning the run just because he had some other things that they practiced and they repped and he liked and he wanted to use it. I think it says something about your pride, deciding to just stick with what's working instead of going to the plan that you worked all week on and the plan that you thought, hey, this is going to be the master plan to beat the Cowboys. Well, the master plan to beat the Cowboys was running the football, and Joe Brady stuck with it. And you heard player after player, and you heard Sean McDermott say, kudos to Joe. Joe deserves some of this credit because he did not abandon the run. And I think that says something about the play caller that he is. I mean, this team has scored more than 30 points in 3 of the last 4 games. He's uncovered something with this offense, and they need to keep it going.
All right, so up next, we're going to flip it over to the other side of the ball with all gas and no brakes.
All gas, no brakes, baby. That was the defensive line last night. It's fun to watch a defense and a defensive line specifically get after it with a huge lead. They had a 28-point lead at one point in the game toward the end of the game there before the Cowboys scored their last touchdown and their first touchdown of the game. And the defensive line pinned their ears back and got after it. 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Dallas's offensive line was allowing the second lowest quarterback pressure rate heading into this game, and the Bills blew by that. Ed Oliver, Leonard Floyd, Greg Rousseau had great games. I mean, Leonard Floyd now up to double-digit sacks, the first Buffalo Bill doing so since Lorenzo Alexander had 12.5 in 2016. Says something about the what's been put on the field by this defensive line, the product that they're putting on the field. They've been getting after it. They've been down bodies. A.J. Epinesa was not a part of the defensive line last night. Von Miller still working his way back. And it doesn't matter who's in there. Daquan Jones has been out for quite some time. It doesn't matter. They still continuously are affecting the quarterback regardless of who's a part of that line, regardless of who's rotating through it. So it was amazing last night from them, and I think they add a lot to the offense, and it's fun to watch them play with that lead. Like, that defense was...
They can go to work.
They were going to work, yeah.
And the next award has something to do with the guys who gave them the lead, the offensive line.
They're glue guys. You can't do it without them. That's the offensive line. 266 rushing yards last night by the offense is the most in the Sean McDermott era. So the offensive line definitely deserves a lot of credit for how they were able to block and open things up for James Cook. And Cook was contacted at or behind the line of scrimmage on only one of his 25 rushes and averaged 4.2 yards per rush before contact. He's only the third player to do so in the last 2 seasons. That has the offensive line written all over it. That's not a stat that you can get without a great offensive line blocking in front of you. So that is why they're the glue guys. That is why we are pointing them out. They've had a great year so far, and they took another step forward last night against a good Dallas defensive line. I mean, all week we were talking about Micah Parsons and the chaos that the Dallas defensive line can create at the line of scrimmage, not knowing where he's going to be lined up. And yes, he did get dinged up a little bit early on in the game, but you still had to account for him, and he was not a problem.
Yeah, the offensive line has a lot to say about this team being number 6 in rushing, number 8 in passing, and number 1 in sacks per play allowed. They're really having a fantastic season, no question about it. Best catch.
Oh my gosh.
There weren't a lot, so it's pretty easy to figure out which one this is.
I did
the
see
one-handed catch that Stefon Diggs had in the second half of this one. He only had 4 catches for 48 yards, but one of those catches was a jaw-dropper. It was beautiful. He still continues to be a part of this team. I know we haven't seen a 100-yard game from him in quite some time, but he's a big reason why this offense is still operating at a high level, because the defenses have to account for a guy like Stefon Diggs. They take him away, and other guys are able to produce, like James Cook. I mean, that catch was incredible. He is such a great athlete. It's now 6 straight seasons where he's reached the 1,000 receiving yard mark, 4th straight with the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have not had a receiver like him in a while, and for him to be able to be on this team doing what he's doing, I mean, he's going to continue to be a big factor going forward for this team.
Yeah, he's the first player in Bills history to have 4 consecutive seasons of 1,000 yards receiving, and that's not for. I mean, Eric Moulds didn't do it, Andre didn't do it, Stevie Johnson didn't do it.
He did 3.
And it is it's something. The consistency. And all the stuff that's been said about him, about everybody, and his brother wanted him out of Buffalo, and all that stuff. It's he has been so consistently good for this team for all 4 years he's been here, and it's been fun to watch. Best block, and I'll say this: Brownie comes in, and it's on my timeline, the social media timeline on Twitter. This play has been on a loop. Like, everybody's retweeting this block.
Deion Dawkins, you are one bad man. On that James Cook long run that went down to the 1-yard line right before the half, Deion Dawkins had the best block of the evening. He blocked linebacker Damone Clark like 20 yards down the field.
He took him on a ride.
Oh, he kidnapped him.
Yeah.
The guy
Go ahead, get on in. We're going for a ride down the field, and I'm gonna have all the control of what we do. That's exactly what happened. Amazing.
He absolutely pancaked him, and he just stayed with it, and is a great block, and ended up falling on him. It's just like, man, I am
here for all of that all the time.
Clark
replay
is just sitting there.
it.
Please get me out of this, And Clark, it shook him up too, because Deion landed on him, all of him. It was, you knew it was early in the game. It was nobody had scored yet, and the game very early on had all the earmarks of a physical confrontation. It was going to get chippy. It was going to be a big boy game, and Dion set the tone, man. I mean, he made a statement there, as they did for the entire first
In the
drive.
first half, behind Dion Dawkins, James Cook was averaging 9.4 yards per carry. When he was running behind Dion Dawkins, that is a big, big number to be averaging in the first half. Dawkins is playing at an all-pro level.
All right, so those are the Maddy Awards presented by EnergyMark.